So, this is the fourth installment of my series regarding 1972, the year that I really stopped collecting comic books, before starting up again in 2006. Stay tuned for the video and information on Jack Kirby's stint at DC. Anachronic. Hi comic book fans, I'm Joe and welcome to Anachronic Comics. So as I mentioned in the introduction, this part of the five-part series, which is part 4, has to do with Kirby's stint at DC. Now, what is interesting is we get a lot of information about what happened to Kirby at DC through his assistant, Mark Avenier, I believe was his last name, who worked with him during that time. Now, when Kirby went over to DC, what was important to him was to become basically a comic book creator and editor. He had this idea for the Fourth World titles. And interestingly enough, the Fourth World titles were supposed to be limited series. All right, they weren't supposed to go on and live beyond what was in his mind as a creator. For example, Mr. Miracle, which he created, he really had the whole story in mind and wanted to turn that particular title over to Steve Ditko. But things kind of changed around for him and it didn't quite work out the way he thought it would work out. So, we can start by looking at some of the books that I got in 1972 having to do with Kirby's Fourth World. So let's start off with the Forever People. I have a few of the issues. Number 8 from May of 1972. There we go. Alright, so this was a key comic book because it was the first appearance of the billion-dollar Bates, who was born with the anti-life equation, but died without realizing its full power. Alright. Next one that I have is Forever People number 10, which has Deadman, as you can see, on the cover. Now, Deadman was put in issues numbers 9 and 10, at the direction of Carmine Infantino, who was the creator of Deadman. And the reason he wanted Kirby to put him in his Forever People is that the Deadman title wasn't selling very well. And so Infantino thought, gee, let me put him in here. People like Kirby, they'll see Deadman, and the Deadman title will then sell more comic books. I'm not sure it really worked that well, but that was at least the thought process behind it. And the last Forever People, and you can see it has a subscription bend on it, is number 11, which was actually the last issue of the Forever People. As you'll see, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this when we get to Mr. Miracle and the Demon titles, most of these titles ended with number 11, and there was a reason for that. DC wanted Kirby to focus on some other titles other than his Forever People, New Gods, etc. So most of these, I believe all of them actually ended with number 11. So this number 11 was November of 1972, and it was a key because it was the first appearance of Deliverance, the Pursuer, a highly effective hunter for Darkseid. All right. And it also advertises Demon number 1. All right, going over to New Gods, from 1972, I've got number 7, which is March of 1972, and it's a key. It's the origin of Orion, and first appearance for a number of significant characters in the Fourth World: Steppenwolf, Tigra, and Hegra, the mother of Darkseid. Next up is number 8 from May of 1972. There you go. So, number 8 is a key because it's the first appearance of Suli, who is Darkseid's first wife and the mother of Kalibak. Number 9 is from July of 1972. There you go. I think that works. All right, so number 9 is also a key. It's the first appearance of Forager, the bug. These humanoid bugs lived underneath the surface of New Genesis. And so Kalibak and the New Genesis bugs first appear in this particular issue. Next one I got is New Gods number 10 from September of 1972. It's also a key, but only because of the iconic cover by Jack Kirby. Let's take a quicker, better look at it. Well, let's see. There we go. All right, nice cover. And finally, I have the last issue, number 11. All right. The Shocking Secrets Revealed, Dark Side and Sons. This also has a subscription fold, not a crease, because I did subscribe to these, which for some of them, like Mr. Miracle and so forth, I got past 1972 as I let the subscriptions run out. So, New Gods lasted 11 issues, just like the Forever People. It was not as good a selling comic book as some of the others. And it was also, so you've got, let's see ya. You got New Gods, which was canceled with the number 11, October, November 1972. Forever People, number 11 was August, September 1972. And so the Apocalypse New Genesis War was never resolved by Kirby. And again, these were supposed to be limited series so that it was going to come to a conclusion. DC tabled these, but brought them all back about 5 years later with different writers and artists. So next up is Mr. Miracle. Now, some might say that Mr. Miracle is probably the most successful of the Fourth World comic books by Jack Kirby because it ran for 25 issues from August of 1971 to September of 1978. And Kirby didn't do all of these. He did most of the plotting, but he didn't draw all of them throughout the entire 25 issue run. So the first one I have from 1972 is Mr. Miracle number 7. Here you go. So number 7 is a key issue because it's the first appearance of Kanto, Darkseid's master assassin. And it's the first cover appearance of Big Barda. All right, I have a little bit of a story about Big Barda in a minute. Number 8, from June of 1972, is a key. It's the first appearance of Guillotina, one of the female Furies. Number 9, from August of 1972, all right, is also a key. It's the first appearance of Mr. Miracle's mentor and the origin of Mr. Miracle. And we have from October, we have number 10. And from November, we have number 11. All right, neither one is a key. So, Mr. Miracle is one of the four DC comics in Kirby's Fourth World Saga. So, Mr. Miracle's Super Escape Artist was inspired actually by Jim Steranko. All right, because Jim Steranko, in a prior life, used to do this type of escape type of stuff in magic. All right? And interestingly, Big Barda was based on Kirby's relationship with his own wife, Roz, but the look was based on a very famous singer of the time, Lainie Kazan, who was a big woman and posed in Playboy. That Playboy happened to find its way to Kirby's office for some reason, and Kirby, when he saw this and saw, you know, this huge, you know, kind of oversized woman, thought, boy, that's what Big Barda should look like. And so Big Barda is based on Lainie Kazan, and specifically her posing in Playboy magazine. So that's the body type that he got from it. So now, again, importantly, with Mr. Miracle, he did want to move Mr. Miracle over to Steve Ditko after the first few issues. And then let his assistant, Mark Evanier, write it, and Steve Ditko draw it. But Carmen Infantino, the publisher, vetoed it and said Kirby had to do it all himself. Although his assistant, Mark, did help to co-plot many of the stories. So it's the longest lasting Fourth World title. It lasted 18 issues with Kirby at the helm, and then the final 7 issues were written and drawn by some others. Okay, and the last one is one that I already have shown you beforehand, and we were thinking about whether or not we should send it into CGC for grading, and the decision was no, thanks to you guys who gave me your suggestions. And that is The Demon. This is The Demon #1 from September of 1972. It's the first appearance of Etrigan, the Demon, the first appearance of Morgan Le Fay, and of Madame Xanadu. This is his first appearance in Demon #1, and he's created by Jack Kirby, obviously. Now, he created him on behalf of DC, who wanted something that was more commercially viable than his Fourth World series, which, with some limited exceptions, was not really selling that well. It wasn't catching on. So Kirby really didn't want to do this because it was more kind of in the horror comics vein, all right? And he really didn't have a lot of interest in the horror comics. But the first issue, this one, sold so well that what happened was Carmine Infantino, the editor, basically told him, remember this is September 1972, said, you know what? You're going to have to forego your Fourth World titles and work on The Demon. And that's why those Fourth World titles, New Gods and The Forever People, ended with #11 in in October, roughly September, October of 1972, because Etrigan made his appearance and Kirby was ordered to spend the time on that. So that was too bad, all right, because we didn't ever get the entire Kirby story on Fourth World, but we did get Etrigan, who has a good following on DC and has appeared has appeared in the animated series that have come out for DC. So here you have Kirby's stint of about 5 years at DC, and in 1972 was a pretty significant year because he was forced to end his Fourth World titles, and he started the Demon title again on orders from DC, and was able to basically establish some characters in the DC universe that live on to today. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. We have one more part to this 5-part series, so stay tuned and we'll be showing you that part very soon. Take care, be well, and I'll see you soon.